Cory Heidelberger is running for the Madison Central School Board. The other candidates are Jenny Thompson, Corey Gunderson, Sean Miller, and Nathan Nash. There are 2 seats up for election. You can compare their responses at amazingmadison.com. Cory, the school district is facing a significant budget cut from the state. Cuts will have to be made. How would you advise administrators to make those cuts?
The first thing we've got to do with the cuts is try to preserve programs. Educational programs. Now, that's our core mission, is to make sure kids have as many educational opportunities as possible. Now, wishing we could have everything without making cuts is a hard issue. To be honest, I might come to the community first and say, can we cover this with the opt-out? Do we need to get rid of anything at this point? And that requires looking at the spreadsheet and seeing what the actual dollar figure is. They're talking $360,000 less from the state now. We have a $250,000 opt-out, and if I understand correctly, we didn't use that opt-out last year, did we? Or was it the year before?
Year before.
There was 1 year we didn't use it. I don't know what amount we used in the current year's budget. I still need to look that up. But I would say, first of all, if we've got that opt-out, if we can keep our programs, we should use that opt-out to take up that shortfall. Now, I don't know how much of that $360,000 that's been cited in the paper is already assumed, if that assumes the opt-out or not. I know that the school is talking about we've got at least 3 retirements so far, and they're saying, well, we just won't hire someone for those positions. That's certainly the gentlest way to do it, but I kind of hate to leave those positions unfilled, because I know one of them is Doc Miller, senior English position. I have a hard time looking at the great work Doc Miller has done and saying, yeah, that's a position we can just, farm out to our other teachers, because that's asking your other teachers to take on a bigger workload, and it's depriving students of one more great teacher in the building that they can turn to for academic help, advice, whatever. So I don't even like the idea of the attrition. If we can afford to keep the staff at current levels, and if we can do that with the current opt-out we have, and maybe even if we if the community's willing to spend money, if they're willing to spend it on a little more opt-out to get us through this hard year and hope something better happens next year, I might actually go toward trying to fund that $360,000 shortfall before asking for cuts. Now, I know that's a long way of saying, let's not make any cuts. Let's try to find the money to support what we have. But that's the first place I'd look. After that, then I would say, okay, if we're not going to replace teachers, I guess we can live with that. But you're not going to find easy waste on this. The school district already went through, over the last 10 years, a whole bunch of fat cutting, if you want to call it fat. And I hesitate to go there, because the kind of stuff we've cut things like the gifted program. I think we've cut French. I don't know if we have a French instructor up there anymore. I think we only have Spanish for a foreign language offering. We've cut a number of things. We've consolidated a music position, I think, in the elementary middle school level. We've already done a lot of cuts to get down to, getting close to bare bones kind of things. So I really hesitate at any other cuts we might make, because they're going to hurt. They're going to deprive kids of educational opportunities. So honestly, my first option is to say let's get out of the mess that the state, that our legislators and our governor have given us, and try to fund things at this level with the resources that we have available.
Okay. Well, the high school is in dire need of renovation. Voters have rejected a $16.9 million bond issue. How would you like the board to address the problems of handicap accessibility, lack of space for new programs, and program areas that are just worn out because they're 40 years old?
Address them by fixing them. You're absolutely right. There are renovation issues in the existing building that need to be taken care of. The bond issue that was rejected on February 1st, though, wasn't just a renovation bond issue. It was for a new gym that would have been half the cost of that project, the footprint of that building, and other things added onto the building, not just the renovations. So I think the bond issue that was rejected wasn't rejected because people said, oh, no, the high school's fine. Everybody I talk to, they look at that high school and they can see what's wrong with it and see it needs fixing. When I took the tour in November, every item that the principal and the superintendent pointed out was an item I could have pointed out 22 years ago when I graduated from this high school and said, yep, the lights are bad, yep, the bathrooms are bad, yep, the locker room has bad ventilation, bad air circulation. Every one of these things has been a problem for at least 20 years, and I've heard people older than me say, yep, it was like that when I went there too. Now, like that when I went there doesn't mean that we shouldn't fix it. We do need to fix it. We do need to get up to ADA compliance. We do need to get those bathrooms into better shape so they can accommodate more people. We do need to fix the electrical system so we don't fry the building out. However, I think the school made a crucial mistake by trying to wrap it up into this kind of domino theory plan where, you know, fixing the bathroom requires building a giant multi-million-dollar gym. That was a plan of a bunch of wishes and wants getting piled up on top of the basic needs. So what we need to do to get this done, obviously the public doesn't want to spend $17 million on an enormous new gym, new, you know, 2,500 bleachers, this giant building project. But I think people, I know I am, perfectly willing to spend money on fixing the things that need to be done. And you prefaced that very well in your question. The three things I'd lay out are, number one, we've got to deal with the accessibility stuff. You know, for ADA compliance, for people to get it out of the building, and even, you know, for fire code for that matter, to be able to get in and out safely if there's a disaster. Number two, we've got to deal with the electrical system and fire safety there. You know, they showed us that room out back by the lunchroom there. That electrical system needs an upgrade. It's not safe. We should fix that. And number three, we need to make improvements in the classrooms. The classrooms, not the gym, not the play space for people to sit and watch basketball happen, but the actual classrooms where students are learning the things they need for careers in college, etc. I think what we need to do is we need to look at, first of all, what are those needs? Make an itemized list. Bing, 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 bing. Try to get an itemized list, or at least a good guesstimate, of how much it would cost to do each one of those tasks. How much would it cost to fix the bathroom, or, you know, make it accessible, or to expand the bathroom? How much would it cost to rewire the building or fix up the electrical needs? How much would it cost to put in new lighting, fix the ceiling tiles? Do an itemized list like that. Then we should get people together, and I've talked about this, you know, previously. We should have everybody come to the table, not just the board, not just the teachers, but have a community meeting where we say to people, honestly, what are your priorities? List your priorities. Which of these itemized, you know, the items on the list, do you think, which is the first thing you'd do if you had a hammer or a wrench or whatever to fix it? What would you do first? What would you do second? What would you do third? You get everybody's opinion on that. And, I mean, this is a numerical thing you can do if you want. You make a list on that. And when you make that list, then you can see how much it costs to do, say, the first item, or the first 5 items, or the first 10 items. Then we say to the budget or the business manager, all right, how much money do we have? And there's something we can do. I mean, I don't know how much capital outlay is left. I know a lot of it is dedicated to fixing the elementary school, or paying off the elementary school, not even fixing it, just paying the bond off. But we can look at how much money we have in capital outlay, assuming we aren't shunting it all over to cover gaps in the general fund like the legislature wants us to do and thinks is a great solution, which is not. Capital outlay ought to be capital outlay. But let's look at what we have in capital outlay and see how much of that list we could take care of now, without a vote, without an opt-out, without a bond. And whatever we can do, whatever we can practically fix now, by gum, go fix it. Don't wait for a luxury gym to get built. Fix the things that we need fixed now. And then, you know, if we look at that list and find, oh, golly, we're kind of, you know, we can only afford a couple things on that list and we need to do 5 or 6 of those things, then let's talk about maybe a bond issue this year of, and, you know, who knows what the number will be. Is it for $1 million? Is it for $2 million? 5? You know, whatever. Break it down so people can see what that money is going to do. Do it in chunks, and people will accept that if you show them that we're doing things you need. But the new gym and renovation project that we voted on in February, there was fat on that. There was too much luxury, oh, wouldn't this be wonderful if kind of stuff, and not enough focus on just, let's fix what needs to be fixed now. That's how I go about that.
Okay. Some schools are asking the South Dakota High School Activities Association to cut the number of games for athletic seasons, and the SDHSAA has said it's up to school boards. What is your opinion about cutting not just the athletic seasons, but generally cutting extracurriculars to save money?
I do not turn to that as a good solution. I think that's a nibbling around the edge and a wishful thinking solution. Because our budget shortfall, like I said earlier, from what the state has shorted us, what Senator Olson and Governor Dugard have said we can do without, is $360,000. Our entire extracurricular budget this year, if I remember right, is $350,000. So forget cutting a game or two off each kid's schedule. If we cut all extracurricular activities, that still wouldn't quite be enough to cover the budget cuts. And that's nuts to cut extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities are a good part of education. I mean, I remember the extracurriculars I did. They were one of the best parts of high school. I learned a fair amount from them. They were important. Now, there is an argument that, you know, well, every little bit helps. My point is that in terms of cutting a game or two off the schedule, yeah, that would save a little bit of money, but it's not an answer. It's not an answer to the enormous budget cuts that the state legislature and the governor have imposed on us. So, I mean, I appreciate the sentiment. And if basketball coaches, if schools are willing to give up, you know, I don't know how many games they play in a season, if it's 20 games or 16 games, if they're willing to give up 2 or 3 or 4 games out of that, I suppose that's a nice gesture. But it's not a serious financial solution. The financial solution we need, to be honest, is for the state to get in gear and give us the funding that education needs for it to be adequate education. If you want to talk about cutting extracurriculars to solve the budget crisis, well, it's around the edges. You could cut them all, and you still wouldn't have solved the other budget problems we have of paying teachers enough, of getting new textbooks, new technology, of giving kids real educational opportunities. So, yeah, I mean, if schools want to cut games, that's their business. But again, that too is denying kids opportunities. And so I'm not looking at cutting extracurriculars as a big way to save a lot of money or solve our problems.
Okay, Cory, thank you very much. That's Cory Heidelberger. Hear more from all of the candidates on April 5th at the Madison Chamber